This is Laura with Potpourri of Life. Today is Friday. It is, I think, the 10th of November. Yeah, we're moving along. If it's the wrong date, please forgive me. What I'm here for, it's Friday night, Frugal Friday, but I'm going to also combine in some of the things that I've been doing because it's harvest time. I have been working with apples because I bought a lot. I bought 2.5 bushels last week. 2 of the bushels were drops that the farm was selling for $5 a half bushel. Well, hello, there's the frugal aspect of what I consider to be frugal. Now, some people might think that what I'm going to do with them is not frugal because it takes a lot of time. Plus, I'm standing here in front of the oven for something else I'm working on, and I'm hot. But it doesn't hurt to work a little bit, to have the things that you find are worth it. For me, making my own apple cider vinegar, applesauce, apple pie filling, dehydrated apples and stuff, it's all worth it to me because I just kind of get these things all cooked up and stuff. Am I tired at the end of the day? Absolutely. The other aspect is you can't do 2 bushels of apples in a day, or I can't. So what I do is I do have an apple peeler. It's in the sink drying underneath the stand that I put up. But I do an apple peeler that kind of grinds, and I got that from somebody else a couple years ago when I bought some jars from them. But what I have done so far this week, actually I've been doing this for a little over a week, yep. These here are my dehydrated apples, and they are delightful. So why do I dehydrate mine? I could certainly freeze dry my apples, but I don't have a freeze dryer. I could certainly purchase freeze dried apples, but I'm doing pretty good on the dehydrating, so I'm not going to do that. And I've done a lot of rationale. Is it worth it? Well, I know where these apples came from. Plus, we did buy some freeze dried apples. We like Macintosh apples. They're a sweet apple that Dave and I have always loved. So that's why I decided I'm going to just try dehydrating these, and they've been coming out so beautifully, and we both like them. Now, what's the benefit of a dehydrated apple is that he can use them for snacks at work. It's great. He puts them in a little container, he takes them off to work, and he enjoys them. And I know that he's not eating candy bars and all that kind of stuff, and no, he doesn't stop and get stuff because I would know. A wife knows. A wife who's had children knows, because you find the candy wrappers or chips and stuff like that. He doesn't do that because he knows that I am doing my best to try to keep him and I healthy. So he doesn't do that. Once in a while I might make him something chocolate or a dessert. So yeah, he gets really good stuff, so don't worry. And he's had an apple pie so far. So I use those for his snacking, but also I can rehydrate those, put them in a little bit of water, and let them rehydrate, and you can make an apple pie out of it. You can make apple fritters with it. You can rehydrate them to use for a variety of things. If I'm making a pork dinner, which I don't make a lot of pork dinners, but if I was, like a pork roast or something, and I wanted a sweet apple flavor to it, I can hydrate them and put them on top of the roast. So those are some things that you can do with a dehydrated or freeze-dried fruits and vegetables that you might have. You can rehydrate them and use them as you normally would. So those are my dehydrated apples. The other thing that I have done is I have made some pie filling. Yes, there's a lot of liquid on the bottom, but more than I wanted to, because you're supposed to pack the jars pretty full, which I did. Next time I'm going to pack it a little bit more. But does this bother me? Not at all. And I'll tell you why. First of all, it's apple pie filling. It has exactly in it what I want in my apple pie. If we don't use this for apple pie, say we find or we make our own ice cream. We don't have an ice cream maker. We have to look into that. But what I would like to do is make our own ice cream or find some organic ice cream. You can put that on top of it. If I make like a pancakes or anything like that, you can still put apple pie filling on it. Now, we wouldn't use a whole quart jar for breakfast for the 2 of us, but there are other things that you can use apple pie filling for. You just kind of have to think outside the box. And that juice that's left, you can use it almost like you would use maple syrup. You can have it go over whatever it is you're using for like a pancake or a biscuit, whatever that it is you're making. The other thing I have made so far is I have made some applesauce, of course. And those are really handy to have on. It's just one of those things, a side dish or whatever. Plus, you can make applesauce cakes and biscuits or whatever. Actually, not biscuits, muffins and cakes. I sometimes make an applesauce muffin once in a while, not very often. The other thing that I've been working on, I'm going to move the camera a little bit. What I have going on over here, all these wonderful containers, is, I think I'm making you dizzy, my apology. I can't get the camera there the way I want. There we go. All these containers. I didn't do a very good job showing you. For that, I'm very sorry. I will try to get a picture. I have 4 gallon jugs. I have a half gallon, and I have a quart. The quart is one that I made today. I filled it up with apples, filled it with some water, and a little bit of sugar in there. With these apples, you do not necessarily have to add sugar. So it's really up to you. Macintosh apples are very, very sweet. So I don't worry about it, and there's enough sugar to make vinegar out of this. Now what you want to do when you get this, I'm trying to figure out which one I want to show you on. I've already checked them today. I take a chopstick, all right? And just like any product you're putting on into the pressure canner or into your water bath canner, you want to make sure all the bubbles are out before you put the lids on. Now with apple cider vinegar, this one's the new one, so I don't want to do that one, or do I? That was from, I've dated everyone. They all have a tag. I don't want to lift up too much here. I kind of want to show you. Okay. I'm going to do something and see if this works. Alright, here's one without the cover on that I just took off. When I do this, you can see that there's some bubbles on top. You just take your stick in here and you just kind of make the bubbles, you know, from the bottom come back up. And it starts bubbling a little bit more on the top. Now I did this about an hour ago, so it's really not doing a lot, but it's enough for me to know that, plus I did it earlier, it's enough for me to know that this is still being worked on. What you do to make your own apple cider vinegar is you fill your jars with apples. It doesn't have to be completely full. And you can put it up to 3/4 full. If you have a few more and you just want to put them in there, that's not going to hurt the apple cider vinegar at all. Then what you do is you put a little bit of sugar, and like I said, I don't put a lot of sugar in my apple cider vinegar because of the amount of sugar that is in apples naturally, but you can. And I typically put a 1/2 cup into a gallon jar. That's what I do. And you just let it, you know, work itself through for at least 2 weeks. Now this jar here, this is a 1/2 gallon. It's been going for 2 weeks. That being said, when I went and I put my chopstick through, it was doing a lot of work. It was bubbling up, so I know it's not really ready. Typically, it's 2 weeks, typically. Now, it might depend on the warmth of your house, the coolness of your house. There's a lot of factors that can get involved. But, you know, after 2 weeks, you can certainly take it and put it through a sieve to take the apples out, bring it out to the compost, feed it to the chickens, however you want to dispose of the leftover apples. Because I'm making so many, I'll probably just give the chickens some, but not all. But this is last year's. I have 2 quarts left. This is my apple cider vinegar from last year. Doesn't that look pretty? And yes, it does have a mother. Now, if you do it right, you will get a mother, and you can use that the same way you use apple cider vinegar for everything else. Now, will everybody's apple cider vinegar have a mother? When I first started using the ones that I made last year, they didn't have the mother in there because it takes a while for her to arrive. That's all I'm saying. So it takes a while, and I'm making more this year than I did last year because I bought more apples. So you can make your own apple cider vinegar and use it the same way you use apple cider vinegar for everything else. I do still buy the Bragg's apple cider vinegar, but as I make more and more, my goal is to not have to. So that being said, maybe I won't have to. Now, just because things are in a gallon doesn't mean I'm going to get a gallon of cider, the vinegar out of it. I won't, because you got all that space taken up with the apples. One thing I wanted to note to you is this week when I was like, I don't have enough half gallons or gallon jugs left. So what am I going to do? I went up into the attic where I have some vases, however you want to call it. My family teases me because I say vase. And I use this pretty vase. See? Isn't that pretty? So for those of you who say vase, and for those of you who say vase, isn't that gorgeous? So on my counter, it looks pretty. Sadly, we have to keep it covered. Now what is on top of it is like a gauze type fabric, and you can get these if you buy the half-gallon jars, and it comes through as a kombucha kit. So you can do the similar process as you do with kombucha. You put it over, you put the elastic around it, put a date on it, put a piece of paper with the date, and then you are all set to go, and you just keep checking it every day. For the vinegar, stick that chopstick in there. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half, a little bit over 4 and a half. I still have just under 2 bushels left of apples. So I'm going to still be working on this, and the reason I'm doing it is I want to make sure I do not lose any of my apples. So some goes to the compost, the little bits that are left, everything like the cores, the peels, any pieces of apple that might fall off, I'll just throw in there. And I do that a lot when I'm doing my dehydrated. So I've shared dehydrating apples, I've made apple pie filling, I've made applesauce, I'm making apple cider vinegar. I'm also going to be making some apple juice. I'm also going to be making more apple pie filling and applesauce. And let's see what else. Whatever comes to my heart's delight to do. So, but everything that I do work with the apples on will be made into apple cider vinegar of what's left. The next thing that I did, I bought a turkey. I think I mentioned it at first, maybe I didn't. This week I went and I got a turkey that was on sale. I was going to buy 2, but there's no room in the freezer. And it's still early. It's not Thanksgiving, right? Well, I'm the type of person, I don't need a holiday to enjoy a typical holiday meal. And usually every year I'll buy a turkey early and I will cook it early. So yesterday I cooked the turkey, actually last night, and put it away, and then I took it out today and I cut it into slices for sandwiches for my husband and I. And then I took some of the bones and some of the little bits of meat and stuff. I am making turkey broth. So I don't know if you can see the steam coming out of there, but we've got turkey broth. What I did was I put everything in here, the carcass and the bones and everything like that. And I put a little bit, I don't know if you can see the steam. Ooh, isn't that nice? So it's still going. I've been cooking this for a few hours now. And what I'm going to have there is turkey broth. I can use it if I want to have it in mashed potatoes, rice. I can, when I'm making a soup or anything like that, I use that from the turkey. So you get the collagen from the bones. You get a lot of nutrients from there. The only thing that's added in there are the herbs that I used when I baked the turkey, as well as some salt to just give it a little bit of a flavor, and I'll probably in a little bit give it some pepper. I'm going to be cooking this for a few more hours, and I keep the cover on it in hopes not to lose too much through the top. So I try to keep the cover on at least a little bit, and it's still right where I had it a few hours ago. So, and the other thing I have done, so we had some sandwiches. I still had some turkey left. Now, I don't like having a lot of leftovers because I like to have something different all the time. But I also want to have things on my shelf. Now, what I could have done, and I do this at Thanksgiving or any time I'm making an actually big dinner, is I make a casserole of sorts. I might put homemade stuffing and potatoes and the turkey, and I might make a casserole of sorts, or I might put it in sections in a container that is 2 servings for David and I. I used to make it bigger when the kids were here. This is so that we can have an instant meal when neither of us feel like cooking. And this weekend we have a real busy weekend in front of us, so I wish I had done that. But I've got other things that'll be really easy to make. So what I am doing, so I have the broth going. That's for all kinds of meals. In here, I have canned turkey. I don't know if you can see it bubbling. I think it's so cool to take it out and watch it bubble. Isn't that the coolest? So what I have done is I took the pieces of turkey and I cut them down into pieces, stuffed them into the jar, and then I put boiling water over the turkey. That's all. That's it. And then I put a little pinch of salt. I take the sea salt, the real salt, not the stuff with other stuff in it. I take the real salt and I put a pinch of salt in each of these jars. Seal it up, put it in the pressure canner. Now, if you want to do it with a water bath, that's on you. They don't recommend it. I'm not going to go down that journey with you. Let's just say you would have to process it for twice as long at least. Will it be safe? I can't even tell you that. Because I have a pressure canner, I'm sticking with the pressure canner. And so what I did was, once it got up to the temperature, I let it cook for 90 minutes. Even though I had already cooked my meat, I needed to make sure that all the botulism or anything like that that could be there, make sure it was all cooked out and everything, so it's safe for us to eat, safe for us to put on our shelves. And what did I get out of one turkey? 1, 2, 4, 7 pints. Now, I would have liked to have gotten more, but I didn't buy a huge turkey. My back is not that strong, and David wasn't here to do a lot of that, so I have to do what I can do. So we have turkey in jars. Now, some people might think that's odd, but it's not. A lot of people who are homesteaders or preppers and all that, they are doing this, and you can too. Whether you are, hardworking full-time worker, you can still do this with your leftover meat. You just have to put it through the pressure canner for an hour and a half. Read your instructions. Every pressure canner has different directions. I don't know anything about those Instapot type pressure canners. I don't have one, so I don't know. But so you just process that, and then when you want to have a dish, whether it's a stir fry or a rice dish or a casserole of whatever sorts that you want to make, you have a jar that you can put right in there. Why do I put meat on my shelf? First of all, I don't have to wait for it to be defrosted. I'm one of those people, it's like by the time it gets defrosted, I might have changed my mind. So I like having these things on the shelf. I've been doing this for a couple of years and I'm having great success. So it gives it great flavor. I do it with hamburger, I do it with steak, the chicken, the turkey, and I don't have tons on my shelf, but I have enough where if the electricity goes out or we can't afford our electric bill or whatever the case may be, we have options for food. And with the way the world is going and we can't get food and stuff like that, and it's getting harder or too expensive for our budgets, it's nice to have something on hand. So I'm doing this a couple weeks before Thanksgiving, but I probably will still go back and get another turkey, or I hope to. It depends. It was, I forgot what it was. It was on sale, they said. I used to be able to get turkey for 69 cents a pound. It was like $1.29 a pound. That's how much food has gone up. I'm kind of hoping that the next flyer that comes out might say 69 cents because it'll be like the week before Thanksgiving and then going into Christmas. Maybe, maybe not. So that's what I'm doing. Now, some of you may say, well, that's not very frugal because you've got your stove going. You have the energy that you're putting into it and the cost of buying these food. Well, I would typically buy turkey anyway, and I don't like seeing my turkeys go bad. So why not make some broth? I don't know how many pints I will get out of this. I do it in pints, sometimes I do quarts, but I probably will get, let's see, I'm going to estimate here. There's bones and stuff in there, so I might get about 8 pints out of this too. But that's enough for me to make some soup for both David and I. To me, that is frugal because in a way it's going to keep me healthier and out of the doctor's office. Nothing against all you physicians out there. You're doing your job. But my job for our family, for David and I, is to keep us out of your office. That is our goal. And as we get older, it's kind of like, it's like fighting things could happen. But if we keep our bodies healthy, and I'm talking to everybody, if we do our best to keep our bodies healthy, stay away from the preservatives that are in our food as best as you can. And I know there are some things that just, you go into the grocery store and they're calling your name. If you work at not consuming of those products, eventually they're not going to call your name anymore. They truly won't. So, I mean, I have no craving for a lot of the things I used to like because I just not interested. I go to the produce aisle, the dairy aisle for David, and I pick up some things there. And even still, some of those things are processed too, like the yogurt and the milks are processed. And we do get whole milk cheeses and stuff like that. And then we go through the meat aisle. Some of the meat we've already purchased in bulk from a farm, but we're trying to figure out where we're going to get like pork and stuff like that, because you'd have to buy the whole pig or something, and we don't eat that much pork. So those are some things, options. But in the interim, what I do is I watch for sales. And the turkey, I'm not raising any turkeys. In the past, I've raised turkeys when we lived up in Maine, but we're not raising turkeys, we're raising chickens. And they are feeding us eggs. And I will be honest with you, no, it's not frugal. But I know what those chickens are being fed, and these are the only eggs I have been able to consume without it bothering my stomach. And that to me is evident of how different they feed chickens for mass production. There are many farmers out there that are raising farm fresh, free range chickens and stuff so that you can get farm fresh eggs. Now, ours are not free ranging because I choose not to chase my chickens all over the place. Plus, we have a small property and we have close neighbors and stuff like that. And I just find it respectful not to see my chickens in somebody else's yard. That being said, I don't care if I see other people's chickens running around. It's just, that's my choice for right now because we have a small property. So that is my Frugal Friday, what have I been up to type of Friday, all that. Folks, I hope that you have subscribed, and if you have not, I hope you take a moment to subscribe and like, maybe comment so the algorithms can find my channel a little bit easier. But in doing so, you're going to help build my channel. And I have decided that I'm going to try to build it, and if it doesn't, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it would be very helpful. So, what have I done? I've taken a bunch of apples, and I think this was just half a bushel. The dehydrated apples, the apple filling, applesauce, an apple pie that I made my husband, apple cider. 2.5, almost 3 gallons of apple cider was a half bushel of apples, maybe a little bit more. And so I'm really happy about the outcome of this. Now, will I make my husband some apple pie? Yes, but not this week. We have some other things to get done, but he might get one. He'll definitely get one by Thanksgiving. And I try not to make too many pies even on the holidays because I just don't like that much temptation. But if he wants apple pie, he'll get apple pie. If he wants chocolate pie, I really don't care. But he also helps in making some things. And if he does help with the turkey making or whatever we choose for that dinner. For Thanksgiving, what are we doing? We have no idea. I I don't think we're going to do much. We're still getting caught up from the estate stuff, and that's coming to a close. And for those of you who knew, you knew we were closing on my father-in-law's estate. That's done. We're just waiting for the judge to make some decisions. But what I wanted to say with that, because it came to my mind to say, of course, is I will be doing another video based on reverse mortgages. That's what my father-in-law had. And what I share will not be to shame my father-in-law at all. It's just one of those things that we learned a lot, that it's not really a good venture. And so, but I'll share a little bit of what I learned, and everybody has their own choices in life. If you're one who wants to preserve what is available to you and you get a great deal on apples, even if it's a half a bushel, there's things you can do so they don't go bad on you. Especially if you don't have chickens, and if you don't have, and you end up just throwing it in your trash instead of a compost because you don't have a place for a compost, try not to waste it. Maybe you can go, you can't afford to, because typically when they have drops, it's done in a half bushel. Go in with a friend and split them. That's frugal. You know, a $5 half bushel because they were drops, $2.50 each of you, and you get quite a few. And just because they're drops, they cannot sell them as firsts or seconds, but they still taste great, and that's why we bought them. So, folks, I hope you're having a great day, and I know that I'm rambly here, but I've just been very, very busy, so my brain is all over the place. So I will talk to you soon, and folks, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and may God bless you. Enjoy.